Boss, your mission is to rescue the target Kazuhira Miller, the man you called your partner 9 years ago. Miller was training guerrilla rebels near the Pakistani border when he was captured by the Soviets. He's currently being held at Dawandehar. Rescue Miller from the Soviet troops and extract him by chopper. It's time to prove to the world you're the real big boss. Boss, there's something I want to talk about. It concerns the running of Mother Base. This base belongs to you now. Make Diamond Dogs the force it deserves to be. Like any organization, we need good people, and we need to make good use of their talents. Miller asked me to lay that out for you. Come meet with me. Miller could do with some rest.
Farming villages in southern Vahan have been subjected to a strategic bombing campaign the past several weeks. The damage is spreading. It's part of the Soviet scorched earth operation aimed at wiping out the guerrillas. The target this time is the commander of a Spetsnaz detachment. He's been key to the operation's success. People say this guy's responsible for annihilating the Mujahideen at Tismasi Laman, the Hamid fighters, overnight. He's a tough, experienced commander. Don't underestimate him. The order from my client in the West is to shoot on sight. They want him out of the picture for good. Sorry, boss. This one's purely business. Wet work. A hit on a commanding officer of the Soviet military. Nothing personal. We're only doing this because it gets us one step closer to our goal. Boss, information warfare is more than just intel gathering. It also means disrupting enemy communications. Your mission is to punch a hole in the comms network between the Soviet outposts. That'll cut off their means to call in reinforcements. Technically, we were given this mission by a Western-backed Arab organization supporting the guerrillas. But it'll also give us a leg up in the future. Take a look at the location of the Eastern Communications Post on your iDroid. Head there and destroy its comms equipment. He who controls information controls operations. Just look at Cypher. Good luck, boss. If we're going to expand Mother Base, we need more manpower. And not just for combat roles either. R&D, the support unit, intel, each demands a different set of skills. If we want to achieve what we've set out to do, Diamond Dogs has got to get stronger. There's a Soviet engineer I want to have join us. He was the one who built your prosthesis. With him on our side, who knows what sort of enhancements he'll come up with for it. He tried to defect but didn't make it, and now he's being held prisoner at Waksin Barracks. Find this engineer and get him out. Having him on our R&D team will go a long way to helping Diamond Dogs grow. Part of the Mujahideen's arsenal against the Soviets is secretly supplied by the CIA. But the war continues to drag on with neither side gaining the advantage. Now, though, the CIA have started supplying the guerrillas with a new weapon. We don't know the details, but rumor has it that it could turn the tide of the war. The Soviets have heard about it, and it has them spooked. Now the Hamid Mujahideen were issued this weapon, but then they were wiped out in no time. There's no trace of fighting at their fort, and all their supplies are just sitting there. Naturally, that screams biochemical weapons, but the Soviets deny using anything that would violate the BWC. Whatever happened, the Soviets have invaded the area and are searching for this Western weapon tech. This is the CIA's worst nightmare. If that weapon falls into Soviet hands, it'll drastically rewrite the history that's being made here. But the company can't be seen entering the area. That's where we come in. Boss, head to the fort of Tismasi Laman. Find the weapon before the Soviets, and bring it back to base fast. The new weapon is codenamed Honeybee. To the U.S., it's a vital military secret. This contract comes from a rebel guerrilla faction in Afghanistan. They've gotten wind of a rare meeting between 3 Soviet commanders running key units in the region. The location is Viala Village. This information comes from a mole planted within the Soviets' Arab Support Organization. The guerrillas see this as a one-of-a-kind chance to weaken the Soviet forces in one stroke. But if they act themselves, it'll expose the existence of their mole. That's why this job falls to us. The request is simple. Eliminate the 3 pigs, by any means. If these commanders are as good as they say, it'd be a shame to kill them. But I leave that decision up to you. Tismasi Laman was full of Mujahideen, the Hamid fighters. Then suddenly they disappeared overnight, and the Soviets moved right in. I guess the old fort is still in good enough shape that the Soviets want to use it as is. This means that the battalion commander stationed in Sakai village, a lieutenant colonel, is moving his operations room to the fort. Word is, he's an excellent leader. With him stationed at Smasi Fort, the Soviet forces in the area will operate all the better. And according to the client's information, he'll be bringing a tank unit to the fort as well. We don't know the redeployment date or the route they'll take, but there must be some planning documentation where the colonel is. You have two objectives: eliminate the colonel and stop the tank deployment. Counting on you, boss. Boss, the rebel guerrillas are launching an offensive against the Soviets. Our job is to eliminate as much as we can of the Soviet mechanized unit that will come in as reinforcements. The more vehicles you can take out, the higher our pay will be. But the mission's a failure if you can't manage to eliminate a single one. A race against the clock, with plenty of targets to choose from. Show 'em your best stuff, boss. The objective is to rescue and extract a mujahid captured by the Soviets. He's being held in the ruins of Lamar Khati Palace, as are a lot of POWs. Civilians, guerrillas, suspected guerrillas. The Soviets have turned the place into their own black site. However, we've only been asked to rescue one of the prisoners. He's known as Malak, angel to his fellow mujahideen. The client is none other than his father. Or rather, this was his father's dying wish.
A sniper known as Quiet is lurking in the Afghan wilderness. This Quiet has performed a string of hits on Soviet officers. The attacks always occur in the same area, but sweeps of the area turn up no traces whatsoever. They've even posted guards, but they never spot a thing. And then, before you know it, another body's lying on the ground. You ever heard of someone who operates like that? Miller has a theory that this sniper is a hitman for Cypher. He thinks it's time we silence Quiet for good. But I'm against the lethal treatment. I say we bring the sniper back alive and break that silence. Because even if this Quiet doesn't say a word, there's still plenty we can learn.
Boss, we need to help Emmerich defect from the east. The target is the scientist we knew as Huey. He's a suspect in enabling Cypher's attack on us 9 years ago. Let's see that Emmerich gets his wish, boss. Take him out of Soviet territory and back here to Mother Base. Dr. Emmerich. I can't wait for us to sit down and catch up. Boss, this contract comes out of Angola. That's right, Central Africa, where Emmerich claimed they were working on a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. There's been a massive oil spill from Mafinda oil field. It's flowing into the river and contaminating the water supply. An environmental NGO has asked us to stop the spill by destroying the facility. Environmental activism isn't exactly our line of work, but it's not that simple either. The group operating the oil facility and causing the spill is the rebel group UNITA. And word has it that UNITA is getting supplied with U.S. military weapons. That sounds to me like Cypher's pulling their strings. Boss, it's time to give Cypher a little surprise. There's a violent power struggle going on within the Contract Forces of Africa, the PF that ran security for the Mafinda oil field. Most of their key people are Afrikaners, but naturally for a South African organization, some of its founders are British. Details are sketchy, but apparently the Afrikaners are holding these British personnel for interrogation near Kaziba camp. We've been asked to rescue one of them, a man known as the Viscount. We don't have the Viscount's exact location, but he doesn't speak the Afrikaners' language, Afrikaans. They'll need an interpreter who speaks English in order to interrogate him. Meaning if we tail the interpreter, he'll lead us right to the target. By the way, the contract specifies that it's all right to ignore the other British prisoners. But the final decision is yours, boss. Boss, this contract comes from the MPLA, the People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola. Apparently, new Western bipedal weapons have been deployed to Ditadi abandoned village and are a threat to their troops. Our job is to eliminate them. The bipedal weapons they're talking about are, of course, walker gears. As I previously reported, they're already in active service with PFs in Africa. But don't you find it strange? A PF employed by the West obtains a prototype developed by the Soviets, yet the Russia-backed MPLA don't know the details. Eastern weapons technology developed in Afghanistan is being supplied to the West in Africa. Only Cypher would be capable of making something like that happen. So, boss, eliminate the Walker Gears at Ditati Abandoned Village, just like the MPLA have asked. Once you do, the PF will need to contact its supplier, giving us a chance to close in on that supplier. Cypher. Boss, about those Walker Gears deployed by the CFA. It appears that it's not just the CFA. PFs all along the Angola-Zaire border are also getting equipped with them. The bipedal technology was developed by the Soviets, but Cypher's the one supplying it to the PFs. The question is why? What's in it for them? The answer may lie in the compensation being traded to Cypher by the PFs. Many outfits operating in Africa get locally mined resources as spoils of war. Diamonds, nuggets of gold, and rare metals. According to the intel team, there's a PF convoy that regularly transports the goods, escorted by armored vehicles, no less. Pretty heavy security for crossing the remote Angolan savannah. I can't imagine Cypher would be so interested in minerals alone. Those convoys have to be transporting something else. Something that holds the key to Cypher's plans. Boss, I want you to extract the truck, cargo and all, from the PF convoy. Let's find out what Cypher's real goals are. Boss, this is an emergency. We had 2 intel team agents undercover at the PF Contract Forces of Africa. The CFA have captured them both. They don't have long to live. You've got to get them out of there ASAP. Since our mission at the oil field, we're no longer just business rivals to the CFA. We're enemies, and they want revenge. Our men will be killed the moment the interrogation's complete. And then it won't just be a matter of 2 dead soldiers. Their execution will be a catalyst, sparking resentment within Diamond Dogs against the CFA. Our men will push us to retaliate. Then things will cease to be about business. We'll be starting a personal war. That's not what we set out to do. The 2 men are being held in Kaziba camp. Hurry, boss. They're counting on you. Don't let them down.
There are 6 targets. They're soldiers. The contract is to kill them all. They used to be with a platoon of Mbeli rebels, but then the Buta authorities captured them. There are 2 locations, the Bumpevi plantation and the Kungenga mine. The client is none other than the general they served under. He wants them dead to keep them from talking. A commander murdering his former men. That's what this boils down to. We have a new assignment. Eliminate the commander of Rogue Coyote, one of the PFs operating in Africa. The target is simply the Major to his men. That's his rank from his army days. Instead of your typical boots-on-the-ground work, he's more of a job broker and a recruiter. And apparently he also runs a little espionage operation on the side. Which could explain why he's picked up a long list of enemies. I don't like getting involved in a PF pissing match any more than you do. There's another reason we took this job. Recently, this guy's been talking about dealing in nuclear arms. Think back to the shipment that Cypher was having ZRS transport. If we put the squeeze on this Major, we might come out of it with some new intel on Cypher. Boss, the client this time is a child. One of the children you rescued from that mine. He wants us to save the boy who was their leader. His name is Shabani, and he was the oldest among them. Several days before you went to the mine, he was taken away to Nzoia Badiabulu. Our search turned up a place the locals call by that name. Ngumba Industrial Zone. Nearby residents are terrified of it. They say the devil lives there, and that anyone who sets foot in it never returns. This industrial zone has long been abandoned, but it seems it was sold off a few years back to a certain corporation, Saner. And now the perimeter is tightly guarded by a PF. The reason is unclear. The same goes for why Shabani was taken away. But something is obviously going on there. Those kids from the mine really looked up to Shabani. The client has given us the last of their diamonds in return. Go get Shabani out of there, boss. Whatever Cypher's up to in the region, Shabani might just be our best lead. The contract is to eliminate a high-ranking CFA officer. CFA doesn't just hire United soldiers as mercenaries.
They're also supplying UNITA with weapons. It just smacks of Western nations manipulating them against the socialist MPLA. Naturally, the MPLA is not happy with the situation and wants us to put a stop to it. Your standard issue East-West proxy war. Except it appears our target is the man in charge of how many weapons get supplied to UNITA. Apparently, his MO is to keep the Civil War going as long as possible, so CFA can keep making a profit. Bad for business if UNITA wins too soon. So they sit back and suck the people dry. Parasites of war. Our intel suggests the target rarely ventures outside of Nova Braga Airport. But rumor has it that a Western arms dealer is headed there soon for an inspection. That could be your chance to eliminate the target from a distance. We also heard that he plans to leave the country following the inspection. This may be our only opportunity to take him out. Boss, we got an emergency here. Mother Base has come under attack, and several of our platforms are in enemy hands. The enemy is some rival outfit copying our MO. They've taken some of our staff hostage. We can't make a move without endangering them. But if we don't do something, they'll try to take off with our men. That would mean losing some of our finest manpower. There's only one option. Infiltrate without being spotted, eliminate their commander, and take back our platforms. Boss, you're the only one who can do this. Boss, the CFA soldiers deployed to Bwala Yamasa have been annihilated. There are no signs of combat, nor any endemic disease. All the adults just disappeared. Only children were left. All those kids were ever taught was how to fight, and now they're free of the control of adults. They've become a regular bunch of marauders, raiding nearby villages, beating people and destroying property. Our contract comes from the government. We're to locate this militia, these kids, and kill them. But I say we do this the Diamond Dogs way. The government wants these raids to stop. We can see to that, but not by killing kids. We're going to disarm, demobilize, and reintegrate them. A DDR operation. To begin with, extract their commander to Mother Base. Once they lose that kid, the one they call White Mamba, the rest of the group will fall apart by itself. 2 engineers are being held in the observation post southwest of Ngumba Industrial Zone. Boss, your mission is to rescue them. The targets are civilians, 1 male, 1 female. They were dispatched to the area by an international health organization, but disappeared shortly after. Extract the 2 targets and help them escape the country. Boss, this contract comes from the Mbeli rebel militants. That's right, that general's fighters. Recently, one of their child soldier platoons staged an insurrection and split from the main group. Thing is, they took a hostage with them. The general's brother, his number 2. The contract is to extract both that prisoner and the leader of the renegade platoon. The message reads, "I love my brother. You must bring him back to me alive." It also says this about the leader of the child soldiers. "He is an excellent soldier. I want to persuade him to rejoin the ranks of the righteous." It sounds a little too forgiving for the man who ordered those kids dead at the mine. I wonder what kind of persuasion the general has in store. With that in mind, here are your objectives. First, rescue and return the general's number 2 as requested. Second, extract the renegade leader, and we'll keep him at Mother Base. In other words, extract both targets out of the region. Good luck, boss. Boss, there's a target on the run somewhere on the savannah. Your job is to find and eliminate him. He's a logistics officer for the PF known as Rogue Coyote. On the side, however, he colluded with the Buta regime, abducting people from Mbeli villages and supplying them as slave labor. That's right. He's a human trafficker. His victims ended up all over the place. Brothels, black market, organ trade, diamond mines. And he was the one who sent Shabani and the other kids to the Devil's House. But then an Mbeli rebel group finally added him to their hit list. The target decided it was time to quit, and now he's trying to leave the country. If he makes it back to his country, he'll be no more than a civilian, and he'll avoid facing a court-martial. Like so many other war biz junkies. I'll bet he plans on enjoying a new live finance with his blood money. The client's order is to take him out. How you go about that is up to you, boss. Boss, The intel team's hard at work investigating the cause of that illness spreading through Mother Base. Problem is, a bunch of our agents in the field are still MIA. Progress has been slow, until now. We just got a distress call from one of them. He said he's got intel on the origin of the disease. But the PF in the area got to him before we did. There's been no further contact from him, but we know he's being held at the guard post on the western end of the mine. There's still a good chance he's alive. We can't afford to let him die. Right now, he's the only link we have to the root cause of the epidemic. Get our man back, boss. Boss, you need to make contact with the Code Talker, the old man who's supposed to know what's behind this infection. The intel team member you extracted was able to pinpoint his location. A forest that stretches across the Angola-Zaire border. The locals call it Lufwa Valley, the Valley of the Lost. The target's in a mansion deep in this valley. A PF is deployed there, but we've also spotted an unidentified group operating in the area. If Cypher developed this pathogen, there's a good chance our target played a central role in that process. But is this their weapon to surpass Metal Gear? Will the pathogen or its cure lead to Cypher? This guy is the key to everything. Boss, make contact with Code Talker and extract him if you see fit. We can't afford to lose any more men. We have to stop this thing. Boss, you okay? There's an unusual mist in front of your chopper. It could be the same one as before. Cypher is trying to eliminate Code Talker, but we can't save the infected without him. Boss, whatever you do, bring Code Talker back alive. Thanks to Code Talker, we've managed to put a stop to any new vocal cord parasite infections. We couldn't save those already symptomatic, but everyone who survived has been released from the quarantine platform. Skullface will pay for this. Boss, Emmerich confessed. Skullface's endgame is to activate the bipedal walking tank Sahelanthropus and deploy it into live combat in Afghanistan. That's why he moved into the Soviet research facility they call OKB-0. If his plan comes to fruition, there'll be no stopping the ripple effect worldwide. Find a way to make contact with Skullface before that happens. Then learn what you can from him and put a stop to his plan. We'll have our fun with him later. This is it, boss. Diamond Dogs is strong enough now to face him head-to-head. It won't be like 9 years ago. Make your way to OKB-0. Sahelanthropus is on the move. The instruments on the support chopper are all malfunctioning. And Eli's acting strangely for some reason. Something's not right. Boss, for now, just get away from that thing. Hurry! The agent that the CIA had working for them inside OKB-0 has gone missing. We've been given the job of finding and extracting him. The target learned of XOF's plans to use vocal cord parasites and had hidden himself with the CIA's Mujahideen allies. But following Skullface's death, the Soviets retook OKB-0 and all contact with the target was lost. He may have tried to go back to OKB-0, but even Langley isn't sure what's going on. After all, they've never even learned of Skullface's plan. That's probably what they want to get out of the man once he's extracted. But we can't allow Langley to learn of the existence of the vocal cord parasites. That's why I want you to bring the target out, boss. Once we have him, we can report him dead and keep him on base. All contact with Langley is being conducted through a cutout. Our reputation should remain intact. As for the reward, it's already in the hands of the cutout. All you have to do is get the job done. Just like always. Boss, research materials have been stolen from Code Talker's mansion. The materials were packed into 2 containers and hidden in the jungle southwest of the mansion. You have to recover those containers. The pickup crew coming for those documents is none other than XOF. That's right. They're still active, even after Skullface's death. Now that he's no longer in charge, their original chain of command has been restored. Meaning if XOF gets those documents, Code Talker's research ends up in Cypher's hands. According to Code Talker, the research papers stored in that mansion account for over 50 years of study. The problem is the vocal cord parasites. If the papers documenting that research fall into Cypher's hands, they'll take another long, hard look at them. The ethnic cleansers we thought were history will become a reality. America, 0, we'll have a weapon far more powerful than any nuke. Even worse, if this knowledge were to leak, the world, humanity, can't be entrusted with this kind of power. Recover the containers before the enemy extraction choppers arrive.
Boss, we need you to get back a film canister one of our informants hid in the field. He was working under my orders to investigate the extraordinaries that showed up in Cyprus. The man on fire and the floating boy that keeps showing up where they're not welcome. Apparently they were the subjects of some top-secret research conducted by the Kremlin. Unfortunately, that meant our informant drew the attention of the KGB's Directorate S, and they took him out before we could make contact. The good news is he placed a report in a film canister and hid it somewhere in Spugme Keep. Just before he died, he transmitted VI of the hiding place to us, but the data was cut off partway through. The image is far from clear, but it might provide the clue you need. We'll be analyzing the data further to try to clear it up, but for now, get to Spugme Keep. The KGB have already dispatched a Spetsnaz squad to retrieve that film canister and cover the whole thing up. Boss, there's no time to waste. Head to Spugme Keep and use the VI as a clue to find and retrieve that target. Why was Sahelanthropus mobile? How are the man on fire and that kid connected to Skullface's plan? If we can just get that report, we can blow it all wide open. Then we can shake off the last remnants of Skullface and the phantoms he left behind.
The CFA are gearing up for a large-scale attack against Angola's MPLA government. They're assembling an armored column to the north of Nova Braga Airport and will be ready to move soon. We've been contracted by the MPLA to put a stop to them. But the civil war will keep burning on, whether we accept this job or not. Another East-West proxy war with the communist MPLA on one side and the capitalist-funded CFA on the other. An endless seesaw of blood and violence played out in the hands of the superpowers. I had my doubts at first, but I think we should take this job. Skullface is gone, but Cypher still remains. Competition with rival PFs will only get more intense. For us to survive, we need to expand our organization and get strong enough that no one can threaten us. So our only option is to fight and grow, and fight and grow. Boss, we have another outbreak of the vocal cord parasite inside the quarantine platform's laboratory. Several men are dead. It began after we discovered that radiation leak in the facility's research block. I dispatched the security team to seal off the source and move the researchers to the containment block next to it. That's when they discovered the outbreak. I immediately sealed the laboratory and sent a MOP-3 rescue team, but they haven't returned and comms are dead. We have no idea why the parasite has showed up again. I thought we took care of it. I'd like to get any asymptomatic personnel out of there, but we can't tell who's infectious and who's not. We need more information, like how to tell the two apart. Find out what's going on, boss.
Boss, we've located Quiet in Afghanistan. She's been captured by the Soviets and taken to Lamar Khatte Palace. Why did she leave Mother Base and return to Afghanistan? And why hand herself over to the Soviets? I just can't imagine what she was thinking. Right after her recent actions finally earned her more fans around here too. Boss, you need to go and get her out. You're not just going to leave her in their hands, are you?